How's it going, everyone? Max here, and we are back with another TFT guide. Today we're going to be talking about the best comps to climb on the new B patch 14.1b. So let's get straight into it. First off, we're going to talk about the meta changes, what has changed after the B patch, and then go into some tier lists of the best units to hold on stage 1 and the best items to slam on stage 2-1. Here are the 5 comps we're going to be talking about, and within these 5 there are going to be some sub comps / different variations as well. So we'll be talking about the Zeri variations, Anima squad, and then head into some reroll with TF, Rengar, and Vayne. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So what changed after the B patch? Well, let's look at the nerfed comps first. Strategist Annie used to be the strongest composition on the previous patch, and now that has been gutted, so avoid playing this if you want to keep your LP. There's also a slight nerf to Anima, but it was not large enough to knock Anima out of the meta. So what happens when you nerf the strongest comp in the game? The other compositions now have a chance to rise up, aka Zeri. So what should you be playing? Zeri Exotech, Nitro Zeri, Zeri Z if you have Cypher in, and then the rest of the comps that I'm going to talk about today, Xayah, TF, Vayne, and Rengar. First, let's get into some tier lists of the units you want to be holding on stage 2-1. So Nitro is going to be the best opener on the current patch, being able to stack up your little bug, and then eventually going to get into a T-Rex. The way you want to play Nitro, at least on this patch, is going to be a tempo Nitro, so not re-rolling, just having that extra front line to stall for your Rageblade Zeri. So keep an eye out for any Shyvana or release drops early, so that's why Kindred, Nilly very good. Vi not only is a good unit, Vanguard goes into 2 of the rerolls, both the TF and also the Vayne, and is also a Cypher unit. Cypher is still extremely broken. Rageblade Kog'Maw is going to be also a very good start. Pair Kog'Maw with like a Vi 2 and a Skarner with a Rageblade in the back, some frontline tank items, and you're looking good to go. Units to avoid holding, Morgana, just not very good. Shaco is very niche, and then everybody else is in A and B. Let's move on to the item slam. So Rageblade is the best 2-1 slam on the current patch. You could play tempo into Zeri, you could reroll into TF, you can reroll into Vayne. You have many options, and it's just overall very good. There are a lot more Morello users this set compared to the previous one, like Elise, Sejuani even is best on Aurora. So if you have the option to make Sunfire Cape, that's still good. If you have the option to make Morello, that is more acceptable on this current set. And then last but not least, if you have a Rengar box, then that is where you are able to make these melee items as shown here. And now let's get straight into the comp. So Zeri Exotech, you've been seeing this in your games. Let's go over it briefly, yet with plenty of information. So this is going to be a level 8 composition and is going to be a physical damage stall board. The longer the fight goes, the stronger our Zeri gets with her Rage Blades. It is actually quite a cheap board. It's still very strong and has a high cap, doesn't require any +1s, but it is extremely contested. So when should you be looking to play Exotechs? Here are going to be your 2 best friends. Flux Capacitor, Pulse Stabilizer. At the very start of the game, make sure you put Jax into your team planner, hover over the Exotech, and then check to see if you have one of these 2. If you do, then you are able to play Exotech that game. If you do not see any of these at all between your 3, 5, and 7 breakpoints, then I would avoid playing Exotech that game. These are going to be the best Exotech items for both Zeri, well, for Zeri and Jhin respectively. So let's get into a little bit more information. This is what your level 8 board is going to look like. Very simple. 7 Exotech plus a Kindred. You're going to be leveling to 8 on 4-2, stabilizing with this board. And as you can see, it is actually quite cheap. You only have 2 4 costs here, and everybody else is either 3 costs, 2 costs, or just trait bots. As mentioned on the previous slide, only play this if you have either Flux or Pulse available. Zeri can use both, and Jhin really likes Pulse Stabilizer. Let's talk about the best in slot. What items should you be building? On Zeri, you definitely need at least 1 Rageblade. Your second item can either be a second Rageblade or a Gunblade, and then you want to finish this off with either the Flux Capacitor or the Pulse Stabilizer. Jhin is going to be a little bit different. He does not like the Flux Capacitor because he doesn't like Rage Blade, but Pulse Stabilizer is going to be very good on him, especially when paired with an Infinity Edge and some sort of damage amp, such as a Guardbreaker, Deathblade, Giant Slayer. You could also give him a Shojin Rage Blade, worst case scenario as well. For our tank, we're going to be putting our tank items onto Sejuani. Now, the 3 tank Exotech items are going to be Lantern, Chassis, and Cyber Coil. Lantern and Chassis are going to be quite equal in strength and is going to be actually quite good on Sejuani. However, Cyber Coil is just undertuned and is not very good. Last but not least, you want to be playing Aurora on level 9 and pulling in either a Zac or an Urgot depending on what you have. So extremely strong composition, definitely give this a try if you have not already. Now we have another variation. What if we start with Nitro? Well, Maxi said that Nitro is one of the best starts in the game, being able to stack up your T43X, and eventually this turns into a T-Rex at 200 stacks. Pretty similar to the previous board, level to 8 on 4-2, except now instead of playing 7 Exotech, we're going to stabilize with our Bastion frontline and just play 3 Exotech. Now, you want to play this only, of course, if you have the early Nitro in the stage 2, and ideally if the Flux Capacitor or Pulse Stabilizer Exotech item is on the 3 Exotech and is provided as the first item. This way you're able to build 2 Zeri items, either double Rage Blade, or Gunblade, and then finish it off with the Exotech item. As usual, you want to be putting your mana tank items on Sejuani, specifically Vow. This is going to be the best. In this meta, if you get stunned with Rage Blade, it is extremely bad, or extremely good for you if you're able to stun the opponent's Rage Blade. So faster cast on the Sejuani, make sure you're same siding the Rage Blades, and you should be able to win many fights. Until you have Renekton, it's fine to play an Alawi, and then on level 9, once again, play an Aurora and pull in either a Zac or an Urgot. We have one last variation here, is going to be the Cypher Bastion's Exotech. Now, you want to be playing this if you have early Cypher in. You'll usually cash out on 3-7, so this will be the stage of Wolves, gives you a little bit of time to figure out your cash out, and then ideally on the next level, or you could even go on 4-2 if you have a pretty reasonable board, level to 8, and then roll for this board. Zed is going to be our secondary carry in this composition, and he really likes Infinity Edge plus Hodge. His third item is pretty flexible, either a second Hodge, Edge of Night, especially against the MF matchups. If you do not have Edge of Knights, you cannot same side into a Misfortune as she'll gun you down. BT, Titans, GS, Deathblade, and even Blue Buff is going to be good on Zed as well. Draven is usually a fully uncontested unit within each game. So he is going to be a great option if you're able to 3-star him and then throw a Shojin, Infinity Edge, and some sort of damage amp on him as well. Mana tank items on the Sejuani, and as usual, until you have a Renekton, you will have to play an Alawi. There's actually one thing I want to talk about the Zed positioning. The 2 areas you want to be positioning Zed is either going to be an A3 or A5. The reason being is the way his ability works in these 2 hexes is going to be targeting either the opponent corner in this corner or the opponent units in this corner. And usually this is where the opponent enemy carries are going to be. Now, of course, this is a little bit harder against other Zeri boards as the Zeri will dash, but if you are able to get onto a Jhin, if you're able to get onto like a Ziggs or a Brand, you will be able to take it out hopefully at the start of the fight, and there goes the enemy damage. So make sure that you're positioning Zed in one of these 2 hexes in order to find success. Presence Law Augments, what to do? Cyber deck is going to be extremely good, is essentially a binary airdrop as a gold augment. So take this if you can. Exotech Crescent Crown allows you to drop Neferi and play a better unit. Trial Run will give you that really tanky Exotech Golem. Make sure you're playing 7 Exotech with this, so you're able to get all 3 items. Now we go into kind of unique ones. So Item Collector, as we have so many items. Binary Airdrop, kind of similar to Cyber Deck. Buried Treasures, any Cybernetic, Bulk, and Implants are very good. Uplink is fine as well. Little Buddies, Slamming / Epic, so some sort of econ to allow you to hit. And then Item Collector 1 is still fine, along with Pandora's items. So that is going to be the Exotech comp. You are now an expert, 3 different ways to play it, and hopefully this will help you gain some LP. Let's keep it going. Anima Squad. So, although nerfed a little bit, still an extremely strong composition, level 8, and this will be a mixed damage DPS board. The power of this composition comes from the vertical of the trait providing damage. Also provides a little bit of resistances to all of your Anima Squad members, along with some damage amp. Now, the one thing about this composition is you can be very contested on the front line, specifically Leona or Sejuani, if there's any other Anima players, if there's like Vayne players, etc. Even some MF flex boards use Leona as well. What weapons should you choose? Between the 5, 7 breakpoint, even the 3 breakpoint is very important for setting up success in your game. For the 3 breakpoint, you want to be really taking Uwu Blasters. Now, as funny as that sounds, Uwu Blasters is extremely good, especially early game, because it has plenty of single target damage. So this is going to be really good for you on stage 2. It will allow you to streak and also kill some units. Avoid taking Blade Orang as it is very inconsistent, and then Guiding Hex is good as well. Moving on to the 5 breakpoint, Anti-Mines is going to be the absolute best. Try to stay away from Vortex Glove or Searing Shortbow. And then on the 7 breakpoints, Gatling Bunny Guns is going to be the best as well, followed by Annihilator and then Tornadoes as the last one. One thing to note is not only are the physical damage weapons generally stronger than the other ones, but you want to be building Sunder anyway for Xayah, so it works out even better building Sunder for your team and then having physical damage weapons to deal damage. This is what your level 8 board is going to look like, pretty similar to the Exotech one. You're just playing 7 Anima Squad, and then your +1 is going to be a frontline unit. Ideally Sejuani, however, if you hit a Renekton with items, or even a Viego, this can be played as well. The reason why you want to be playing a frontline unit instead of more damage such as Jhin for 2 marksmen is that 7 Anima already provides plenty of damage within the trait, especially if you have the Gatling guns on the 7 Anima breakpoint. Therefore, just having more frontline is going to be more effective, and Jhin can come later on level 9. Xayah best in slot, Infinity Edge for sure. Her auto attacks don't do that much damage, and she is an attack caster, so you really want that ability to crit. Last Whisper is going to be extremely good on her as well, followed by some sort of damage amp, either a Deathblade, Guardbreaker, or Giant Slayer. If you're able to high roll an Aurora, you want to make sure that you have some sort of anti-heal on her and some mana on her. So Morello is going to be better than Red, just because Morello lasts double the time of Red, 10 seconds versus 5 seconds. Some sort of mana, either Shojin or Adaptive Helm, and then Archangel is ideally going to be her 3rd best item because of how long she stays alive. Put your pure tank items on Leona. You just really want her to stay alive and proc as much Anima weapons as possible. One thing to note is I actually really do not like playing Yuumi in this composition. I also don't like to upgrade her as I'm rolling down. Reason being is you're not playing Amp, you're not playing Strategist, and Yuumi doesn't do that much damage. She also doesn't provide any tank and doesn't provide any CC. So I think she's a waste of gold, and even like Seraphine is better when you can eventually tech in, pardon the pun, Viego as well. So I would replace Yuumi with Aurora. And then Aurora you want to throw in a Zac, Jhin on level 9. One augment that is extremely powerful with Anima Squad is going to be QOQ. Very strong because of the power that lies within the traits, not in the individual units. So you want to make sure you're prioritizing making support / R items. Redemption, Shiv, even Shroud, Sunfire, Umbrella are all going to be extremely good, with Leona holding any pure tank item and Xayah holding an Infinity Edge. One thing to note, you really want to put a Shiv on the Vayne because the Vayne will proc Shiv 3 times with each ability cast going 1, 2, 3. Let's finish off with the best in slot augments, quality over quantity. Anima Crescent Crown, in this case you can drop the Seraphine. Support Spire and Power Leveling are going to be great for Anima Squad. If you have pair of 4s, then you can't play the Sejuani, but you'll just play the Renekton and Viego instead. Little Buddies, Slammin, and Clutter Mind are all going to be good as well. So those are going to be our standard comps playing around 4 cost carries. Let's get a little bit of reroll in here. So the first one is going to be Twisted Fate, everyone's favorite card shark. This is going to be a level 6 reroll composition, and it will be a magic damage stall board. The reason being, it's stalled. Not only are we building Rage Blades on the TF, but his passive gain 2 ability power each attack. Paired with the Rage Blade attack speed means that late into the fight, TF is going to be pumping out some crazy damage. When should you play this? You should play this from early Twisted Fates plus a Rage Blade starts, and this will really set you up for the mid game and late game with this composition. Here's what your level 6 board is going to look like. Slow roll on level 6 for the TF plus the Darius 3 and anything else they can hit if the Skarner comes free or if the Kog'Maw comes free. There are going to be 2 generic builds that you'll want to be building on TF. If you don't have any artifacts, then you will just be going double Rage Blade plus Gunblade. If you have a Zhonya's, then you could go double Rage Blade plus the Zhonya's, and if you have a Gambler's Blade, this will replace one of the Rage Blades. Now at 3 syndicates, you want to make sure that you're kingpinning the TF. However, once you get to 5 syndicates, then it will first usually be the TF plus the Darius. However, once you get a Misfortune in here with 2 to 3 items, you want to be not kingpinning the Darius anymore and giving Misfortune the second one. Shiv on Kog'Maw is going to be very good, or you can put a Spark on secondary tank front line to have some sort of shred. Now, this is going to be very important. We are now entering double Rage Blade backline territory, with one of the most contested units being really meta in the game, Sejuani. So how do we position to not get stunned? Well, let's take a look at the Sejuani ability first. So she will use her ability on her current target that becomes the epicenter and then stuns within a 3 hex radius. So this is how you want to be positioning against Sejuani. Right corner TF, put your units such as this. So then Sejuani will walk over, ult the Darius, and no matter how you try to count it, TF will stay free from the stun. So this is how you can avoid being stunned. The only way you can get stunned here is if somehow Darius dies and she walks up, but we're going to have a 3-star Darius with tank items, so you should be good to go. The one problem with this is it leaves your right side pretty vulnerable. So if Darius dies and there is some damage here, you could be in trouble with direct access towards the Twisted Fate. But this is maybe, it all depends on fight RNG. This positioning, you will avoid being stunned. Now, why is the right corner better than the left corner? Well, if we look at the left corner here, if we are to do this, then Braum has to be in the center, or whatever unit you have has to be in the center to avoid the Sejuani stun. Because if Braum is the epicenter, now 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, TF will stay safe. However, you are much more prevalent or much more likely to being wrapped on the side. So that's why bottom right corner TF is going to be a lot safer than bottom left corner TF. And whatever happens, you need to make sure that your double Rage Blade unit does not get stunned at the start of the fight. Okay, let's finish off with some best of augments. Also, this is going to be the level 8 board. You just add in a Shaco and then get some 80 items for MF and give her the second hat. Anger Issues, going to be great in this composition. Just Rage Blade all of your main carries. All that shimmers, pumping up 1, 2, 3 star Night Shop Glitch to let you hit. Piercing Here's Lotus, also going to be very good, along with Keep Your Friends Close and Dummy with a Gun, the 2 syndicate tailored augments. Let's keep going. So Vayne Reroll, also a very good composition, a little bit more complicated to play, so I'll explain how we're going to do that so then we could top 4. Level 6 to 7 reroll composition. This is going to be a physical damage DPS board, and you want to be playing this from early Vayne drops plus a Rage Blade. Now, the best augment in this composition is going to be category 5 by far. So if you have this plus like a Rage Blade or some Vaynes, this is going to be your composition. Here's what the level 7 board is going to look like. So you want to be playing 4 Slayer, 4 Vanguard, and you're going to be slow rolling on level 7 for Jarvan 3, Vayne 3, and hopefully that's Zed 2. Now, before we get to level 7, we want to make sure that we stabilize on level 6 first. So you can roll a little bit on 3-2, depending on what your board state is, but on this stage, you need to have Vayne 2 minimum plus upgraded frontline. Once you're stabilized on level 6, then you could slowly make your way to level 7 on either 3-7 or either 4-2, and then start slow rolling for these 3 stars. Vayne Bis is going to be double Rage Blade plus the Runons. If you have category 5, then I believe single Rage Blade and double Runons is going to be better. Jarvan is going to be your main tank. Once you have Jarvan 3, you definitely want to be making sure that you have your items on him instead of a Leona 2 if this is your case. Really make sure you position to avoid Sejuani stun. You cannot get these double Rage Blade stunned. On level 8 and 9, you're going to be adding a Renekton and a Garen as well. Garen mod, you could either slay your Renekton if he has items, or you could Vanguard your Zed. Here's how your board is going to finish off. Remember, Renekton should be eating your Senna. Senna has so much AD, and because of Slayer, she'll be able to heal it back up. Category 5, Rageblade plus double Rudons, pump you up 1, 2, 3. Starry Night, Shop Glitch, Piercing Lotus 2, 3 is going to be great in here. One thing to note, Glass Cannon 1 is going to be much better than Glass Cannon 2. Not only is it, of course, like a silver augment versus a gold augment, but the values are quite similar. So definitely take the silver Glass Cannon if you have the opportunity. One last thing to note, Zed, remember A3, A5, we're sniping those corner units and making our opponents pretty unhappy. Okay, and our final composition of the day, Rengar Reroll, everyone's favorite. It's basically a rework of Smeech. Level 7 physical damage burst board, and you're going to be playing this from an early Rengar drop or from an artifact. One thing to note is you really need combat augments in this composition in order to thrive and do well. So what is our level 7 board going to look like? Here it is. You're most of the time just going to be playing 4 Executioner unless a random Urgot comes to you. 3 Street Demon, and also you're going to be rerolling your Rengar plus your Varus if possible. Before we even get to level 7, make sure you stabilize on level 6 first. You can put your items on Graves at this stage, but you cannot just be super loose streak into our Rengar win out. You want to definitely try to win some rounds on stage 3. Rengar Abyss, without any artifacts, is going to be BT Titan's Hodge. Very simple. If you have a Silver Mirror, you're going to pair this with double healing. If you have a Prowlers, you're also going to pair this with double healing. If you have a Cutlass, then you could forego the BT or the Hodge, or the BT, and build a Titans instead. In regards to positioning, remember, Rengar will target the unit with the lowest amount of health. So you want to try to same side the enemy backline carry, especially if they're clumped. This way Rengar will try to jump onto like a secondary backline carry, then start attacking your main enemy backline carry, and then actually activate his ability and kill it. Whoa, what's this? Another composition here, Rengar Jinx reroll. So you want to be playing this when you have early Jinxes and an Econ augment. Jinx is going to be using items such as Shojin, IE +1, either a damage amp item or a Last Whisper. One thing to note is Jinx is an attack caster. So I don't want to be seeing anyone building Rageblade on Jinx, but you could definitely build Shojin on Jinx as most of her damage comes from her ability cast. This case is going to be a duo of the Rengar and the Jinx, going vertical Street Demon, and then also eventually adding in Vex on level 8. Let's finish things off with our capped board, adding in that Viego, adding in that Urgot. Executioner Crest or Crown is going to be great, being able to drop greater, better units. Rig Shot Plus will really allow you to hit the Rengar and the Varus for free, and this is also a silver augment, which is going to be great. Any sort of Forge to give us that artifact for the Rengar. Cooking Pot if you have an early Rengar, and also freestyling. Here are a couple other really good combat augments: support, cash, immovable object, radiant refractor. It all depends on your Street Demon Hex layout. So I'm going to sum everything up here now with our main meta shifts conclusions. So 14.1b, you need to know how to play Zeri. Either 7 Exotech Zeri, either 3 Nitro 4 Bastion Zeri, either Zeri Z Cypher 4 Bastion Zeri. Either one of these you need to know and when to play. Anima squad is always going to be good. If you have a tempo start, 80 items, tank items, you're good to go. And then TF reroll lines, Vayne reroll lines with double Rage Blade, or Rengar reroll lines depending on your augments and your melee items. Pumps to avoid, do not play Strategist Annie. It is not good anymore. It has been gutted. So that has been everything for today. If you learned something, make sure to let me know and join our Discord in the link in description. Make sure you add a comment, and best of luck in your games. More guides will be coming out as the set unfolds. And I hope to see you in one of my streams in the future. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.